Welkom allemaal. We hebben voor de derde keer deze dag weer een nieuwe groep deelnemers aan deze sessie die je welkom gaan heten. Wij gaan binnen nu en 2 minuten zijn we al live. We zijn live. En counting. We hebben thuis ook publiek, dus ik zwaai even naar de mensen thuis, of op het werk natuurlijk, met een livestream. Welkom ook hier op de SS Rotterdam. Wij zijn onderdeel van het In November programma en jullie hebben je ingeschreven voor een sessie met Bryan Cassidy, hier aanwezig. Die zal straks geïntroduceerd worden. Mijn naam is Diederik van Leeuwen. Ik werk bij de Rijksdienst ODI, dus de O van ontwikkeling, de D van digitalisering en de I van, hoe kan het ook anders, innovatie. Daar werk ik sinds 2016 bij Interim Rijk. Ik heb allerlei verschillende opdrachten gedaan. Je kan mij op allerlei verschillende plekken tegenkomen. Maar één rode draad in mijn rijksambtelijke carrière is dat ik me steeds heb ingezet voor innovatie. Als een van de founding fathers van de Rijksinnovatiecommunity samen met Bud Klaassen. Hij was ook de eerste voorzitter van de Rijksinnovatiecommunity. Wij hebben ook samen ook de eerste nou dat heette toen nog in november, maar wel het eerste innovatiecongres georganiseerd. Destijds met 10.000 deelnemers online, dus dat was meteen al een mooi succes. We zijn met z'n allen, ook met het team waarmee we dit organiseren, ontzettend trots op hoe wij hier nu staan, wat we hebben gerealiseerd. En ja, er is een beweging in gang gezet. En als je eenmaal iets in beweging hebt gezet, dan stopt het ook niet meer. Dus vandaag is weer een mooie stap voorwaarts. En voor een deel vallen jullie in een programma wat een tweedaags is van een opleiding. Dat is een opleiding Innovatiemanagement voor overheidsprofessionals. Dat verzorgen wij dit jaar voor de 4e keer. Vanochtend is groep 4 geslaagd. Die hebben allemaal een certificaat gehaald. Die hebben hier gisteren en vandaag hun eindpresentatie gehouden. Dus als je je inschrijft voor de opleiding, dan volg je 8 modules. En uiteindelijk op een tweedaagse voer je dan je eindopdracht uit. En nou, dat is wel even een applausje waard, even om te beginnen. En daarmee zijn we op weg naar een hele mooie mijlpaal. Namelijk, wij gaan dit jaar minimaal de 100ste deelnemer aan de opleiding certificeren. En als het goed is zelfs 130, Gert. Dus daar zijn we ook heel blij mee. En nou, vandaag is de start voor de nieuwe groep 5. Ik heb eerder al gezegd, eenmaal je label, dat is je levenslange, of in ieder geval je carrièrelange label. De nieuwe deelnemers, welkom. Jullie zijn groep 5. Nou, je herkent elkaar aan de roze stippen. Oké, dat even voor de introductie. We zijn dus live. Als je echt niet in beeld wil, dan moet je even dat aangeven. Want we maken ook een opname. Je wordt in principe gefilmd vanaf de achterkant. Maar ja, stel dat je daarmee ook niet meer anoniem bent. Dat zou kunnen met sommige kapsels. Dan moet je dat even aangeven aan de techniek. Dan knippen we je eruit. Maar ik neem aan, je hebt hiervoor opgegeven. Dus het zal wel goed gaan. We hebben dus ook voor de livestream ook de mogelijkheid om vragen te stellen. Daar zal ik naar kijken. Bryan Cassidy gaat straks de presentatie houden. Heeft net ook wat input opgehaald. Is hier ook al 2 dagen aanwezig. Dus is zeg maar op de hoogte van onze ins en outs. En dat zal het verhaal ook hopelijk scherper maken. En we hebben aan het eind dus ook de mogelijkheid om in te gaan op die vragen. En er kunnen ook vragen uit de zaal gesteld worden. Dus ik ga de microfoon overgeven aan Gert. En ik wens jullie allemaal een hele mooie sessie. En jullie zullen mij nog even als een soort sidekick af en toe terug zien komen. En aan het eind sluit ik nog even af.
Dankjewel Diederik. Voor de kijkers thuis en voor de mensen in de zaal, mijn naam is Gert Staal. En ik ben samen met Diederik programmaleider eigenlijk van de Innoveren met Impact opleiding. En wij hebben de gewoonte om ieder jaar een keynote speaker uit te nodigen die daadwerkelijk iets nieuws te melden heeft. Dit jaar hebben we gedacht we goed aan te doen om dat over AI te laten gaan. Een zeer courant onderwerp. En heel erg in de belangstelling. En we weten allemaal dat het best wel een lastig onderwerp is, zeker bij de Rijksoverheid. Ik kwam Bryan eigenlijk vorig jaar voor het eerst tegen. Uiteraard hebben we via internet al het een en ander uitgewisseld. Maar we hadden toen een zeer langdurige lunch in Antwerpen. En ik was zeer onder de indruk van zijn diepe kennis over AI. En ook de mogelijkheid voor hem om te schakelen en het ook toe te kunnen passen, die kennis op de context overheden en not-for-profits. Dus ik wil vooral doorgaan en het woord geven aan Bryan, die zichzelf verder zal introduceren. Bryan, up to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Okay, I want to tell people, you will get copies of all these slides. Normally, they would be at this link. They are not there now, but if they will be there on Monday. And what you will get is you'll get a copy of the slides, you'll get a copy of the prompts, you'll get some other cool stuff. You might even get a copy of my book if you want to read it. It's a good book, by the way. I started writing this talk, and the introduction was going to be about how AI in government is different. Started writing, wrote a little bit more, and I said, you know what? Your problems are not really that different than what I deal with in industry. And I said, look, you know what? That makes life a lot easier because I talk to industry a lot more than I talk to government. So I'm going to focus on some of the challenges that you have and how AI can help you with those challenges. The first challenge, everywhere you go, is how do you do more with less? Budgets are cut, and people want more. AI has an incredible ability to multiply your ability to do incredible things. Secondly, there's people challenges. There's less people available because of less budget. You've got a diverse workforce. I don't know, I'm old enough that I can say this, but the young generation just doesn't have that same work motivation that I've had. So it's sometimes difficult and challenging to manage that diversity. And alignment in the organization with more diversity is harder than ever before. The last one, which is probably more government-orientated than company-orientated, is a combination of two issues. One is a need to go fast, but to go safe. When I look at it, everyone everywhere wants things done today, right now, immediately. But the problem is you're more vulnerable than you've ever been before when you make a mistake. If you're in government, you're scrutinized on everything you do, so you can't make mistakes. So the question that comes up is, how do you manage this effectively? And one of the biggest problems with AI is it can help you go really fast, but it can help you go really fast in the wrong direction. My talk today is going to be divided in three parts. I'm going to talk a little bit about what AI is. AI is a lot of different things, but I'm going to talk about a specific type of AI. It'll give us some common ground. It'll give us a few facts. I'm going to talk a little bit about how AI can help you in the process of innovation. And I'm going to give a specific context, which is running innovation sprints. Not because innovation sprints are one and the same as innovation, but they're a good description of what you need to do in the innovation process. And if you can make it there, you can get it done anywhere. Lastly, we'll talk about the need for policy, and we'll share some of the work from the group this morning. For the guys that were here this morning, sorry, I reintroduced myself. My name is Bryan Cassidy. I'm a really nice guy. I'm an American, but I'm also a Belgian. I've been an entrepreneur. I've done 11 companies in 6 different countries. I've sold 8 of them. A while ago, I started teaching. When I started teaching, I said, well, you know, it was a favor. Who wants to teach? But I actually really enjoy it. I get a kick out of it. And my sort of psychic income in life is I get wedding invitations from my students. I get pictures of cars they bought because they got a raise. That makes me happy. I've been teaching at a number of leading universities. Stanford, Berkeley, London Business School, EDHEC, Solvay, KU Leuven. During the middle of the pandemic, I did a bit of change in life. I was teaching a course which was really expensive. It was, 6,000 euros per student, but I was teaching it remotely. And I said, who's going to know if I let some students into this class? And I started letting some students from Malaysia into the class. And actually, I liked the Malaysian students more than I liked my really smart students. And the reason why I liked them more is they were really motivated. And they never complained about the amount of work I gave them. So I started changing a little bit from teaching what I'll call the fortunate few to the motivated many. I'm working with schools in Nigeria, in Pakistan, in India, in Malaysia, with the goal of reaching 1 million innovators by 2027. And I still have the same typo as this morning. I reached 5,000 this year. No, I didn't. I reached 8,500. Unfortunately, at this speed, it's going to take me 120 years to get there. The way that I can get there is using AI and ways to multiply out the reach. I do that through books. I wrote a book called Cycles. It's translated in 3 languages. It's not translated in Dutch. My apologies. And I've got a new version of Cycles coming out in January, which is everything that was in the original book, but AI augmented. You want to do this, but you want to do it fast and easy, the solution's there. I do lots of courses, I run sprints, and I do research on creativity and innovation. And that's it. So let's start. What is AI? It's like asking you what art is. There's 100 definitions of what art is. But you can never go wrong if you quote McKinsey. So I'm going to quote McKinsey. McKinsey says, artificial intelligence is the machine's ability to perform the cognitive functions we usually associate with human minds. Artificial intelligence is doing the stuff that we humans do. When we talk about AI right now, what you don't know is there's lots of forms of AI. There's predictive AI, there's neural networks. When we talk about AI, we typically talk about something we'll call generative AI. And generative AI has a specific functionality. It's about creating new and original content. It takes a lot of old stuff, lots of old stuff, to guess new stuff. And it's basically a prediction machine. Let me give you a few facts. The first thing that we have is we have to talk about where does AI fit in terms of its skills versus humans, if it's trying to mimic human abilities. And what I can tell you is in terms of creating ideas of value, AI is typically better than human beings. The reason for that, it's been trained to predict things that people want. In terms of creating novel ideas, there's still a few human beings that are better than AI. If I was to look at it, it's this sort of little bit down here. So this is that little group where human beings are outperforming. I showed this morning. Let's see if you get something new, and I'll ask my conclusion. And the person that gave the answer this morning about what's most important here can't answer it. So there's some really cool research out there about how AI can help. The place that AI has been found to help is actually not in the area they expected it to help the most. They expected AI to help most in the scientific fields. Actually, where AI is having its biggest impact is in creative fields. One of the places you can look at the need for creativity is you can look at knowledge workers. There's a study here that was done by Harvard Business School with some really smart knowledge workers from the Boston Consulting Group. They took those workers and they had them work on some creative tasks. They divided those workers into 2 groups. The really smart, super smart, and the really smart but less smart than the super smart. And they had them work on some creative tasks. And what they found is in terms of those creative tasks, the best people increased their performance by 17%. That might not look like a big thing, but that's 1 day of work per week better. The less skilled group, they increased their productivity by 43%. 2 days a week of work. When you look at a Boston Consulting Group consultant who charges $3,500 a week, $3,500 per day, that's a lot of money. But there is something here which is more important, and that is, if you look at these 2 blue lines, the bottom half and the top half, they actually turn out now with AI to be equally creative. That's the most important thing, is it brings everybody to the same level. In that same study, they did something which I thought was really quite clever. Instead of looking at the glory days and how wonderful AI is, they wanted to look also at the dangers of AI. And they gave people a task that they knew AI would get wrong. And they had two groups. One group that got this whole training on how to use AI, and one group they were told you can't use AI. They said, look, this is really important for your career. Go solve this problem. People come back with a solution. What happened is the group that was using AI got it wrong 40% of the time. What's equally important is that group thought they got it right more. Their confidence level was higher because AI gave an answer, but it gave the wrong answer. The other group got it wrong 15% of the time. What happens here is actually when you're using AI in the wrong way, it can be dangerous. One of the things we're talking about in government is how you can make mistakes. You can't make mistakes, so you got to do the checking along the way. So how do we work with AI for innovation? Everybody asks me, it's like the secret handshake. Can you tell me the secret? How do you get AI to work? And actually, there aren't any secrets. There's no secret prompt. It's actually a fair amount of work. The effective use of AI is actually not about magic, but it's about guiding AI with domain expertise and methodology expertise and working interactively with AI. I'm going to give you a starting point to explain something about AI. And nobody knows the answer to this one. It used to be, if you asked AI to give you a random number between 0 and 100, it gave you the answer 42, 15% of the time. The other numbers, which are quite popular, are number 6, number 2, and number 7. You're laughing, so I know you know the answer. Tell me, why would AI give 42, 15% of the time? Yes! Do you think that AI doesn't know what a random number is? In fact, what AI is, it's a prediction machine. It's giving you back the things that you want to hear. So yes, it's the life, the universe, and everything. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So one of the things that comes out if you're working with AI, if you know it's a prediction machine, and you go to it like you typically could go to AI and say, I need creative ideas for a mom's birthday. Give me 10 ideas. It'll give you 10 ideas. And they will be pretty common ideas. What you need to do is you need to break the pattern of the way AI thinks. The best way that you can do this is to think of the term CAR, context, action, result. I want you to think like this. I want you to do it this way, and I want this result. I want you to think about it. You're an Indian ventriloquist. And I want you to come up with creative ideas for my mom's birthday that are all yellow, and I want them to be smaller than a bread box. You will come up with zany ideas. I have no idea what the answer would come out of that, but that's okay. What happens there is you break the pattern. You break the pattern of how AI is thinking, and it will give you a better result than before. Another way to use AI effectively is something called few shot. You give it a couple examples. I want stuff that looks like this. You train it, and it goes and gives you answers. And then there's something really cool, which is called chain of thought. And say, I love those great ideas for my mom. But you know what? I live in Europe. My mom lives in the States. I'm late. Can you try to figure out something that gets my mom a beautiful gift in the next 3 hours? Looking at the great ideas that you've already come up with. And it will improve on those ideas. Make sense? So, in terms of your effectiveness, give me 10 ideas. Doesn't work very well. Give me 10 ideas, and I want you to have the following objectives. I want you to think like this. I want you to do it this way, and I want you to deliver it in that format. you will get better and better. I want you to analyze the best ideas and improve them one by one, leaving it best. So now I'm going to give you some cool stuff called mechanical creativity. Before I go into this, how many of you believe AI can be creative? Put your hand up. If you believe, why would you believe that?
Because it does.
It does. It's the fact. What is the
No,
difference?
because it combines all kinds of ideas, concepts. It is really creative. It works like a creative brain.
Yeah, it does.
Because of the combination it does. Yeah.
So the gold standard of creativity is your ability to file a patent in business. Do you have any idea what percentage of patents are issued for things that already exist? 10%? 20%? 50%? Tell me where you think it is. 10%. 50%. 70%. 80%. 97%. 97% is the right answer. And what's important is most of the solutions that we're looking for exist someplace else. AI is not going to figure out how to make a new mobile phone because it doesn't have the context. But if you're trying to create ideas that exist already, who can look quicker among stuff that exists? Okay, so what I did is I did some research. And I get really chuffed up and excited about research. There was a working paper that was done by some people at my alma mater, which is Cornell University and Wharton University. And they looked at a very specific aspect of AI creativity, which is, can you prompt AI to create idea variance? Idea variance is about how novel the ideas are. They ran the research. They said, yeah, sorta. And I said, you know, look, I look at what they're doing. These are supposed to be experts. They could do better than this. So we reran the study. I ran it for a large conference I was doing in the States. We had 40,000 people. I was really scared. We had 4 weeks to finish the study. And what we looked at is could even better, not event better, prompts and methods make AI more creative. We took a study. We took 260 business school students submitting an idea for a challenge as part of a job application. By the way, this is exactly the same challenge they used in this. So I actually had to create a job so that we could hire people for the job. And basically the test was, to apply for this job, you have to come up with a creative idea for a product we can sell to college students in the US. Okay, so I have 260 students applying for a job. They want the job, so they're motivated. So what we tested the students working by themselves. We tested students and said, hi, you know what? Do this with AI and see what you come up with. We tested students and we trained them a little bit and we told them to set some clear objectives. And we let them use AI again. And we did a last one, which is same group, but used what I would call smart prompting. Anybody have an idea what's going to come out as the results? Okay. So, first group, humans working by themselves. They got the challenge. What you'll find is actually it's kind of hard to come up with good ideas. Second group, we clarified the challenge a little bit. And basically what we did is we took the challenge, we put it in a format that I use, which is called True North. And the basics are that if you want people to come up with a good idea, the best way to get them to come up with a good idea is to tell them a story. It works the same with AI. You give it the context, not just the facts, but you give it a context, it works better. Second thing that helps a lot is down here, it's giving ideas to start. So True North stands for where you want to go, but it's an acronym, which is narrative, objective, restrictions, tactical constraint. Here are places to start. And then you finish the whole thing up. So we had that. And let them use ChatGPT again. Go out and find stuff cool. Then we use what I'll call smart AI. And smart AI is not that smart. It's just knowing that there's something someplace. Do you remember the number I gave you? 97% of ideas exist someplace else. It comes from a methodology called TRIZ. How many of you have ever heard about TRIZ? You should learn about TRIZ. Truly amazing stuff. So, what they found in TRIZ is that 40 inventive principles were able to generate 90% of the 97% of ideas that exist. So you can say, I've got a challenge, generate me this idea for college students, and for each of these, I'd like 80 ideas, and for each of the 40 trivial inventive principles, propose 2 ideas. That's not a difficult prompt. Okay, so what we had is we tested a whole bunch of stuff. There's lots of idea building methods, alternative views. Imagine you're Elon Musk. I don't know where his brain went these days, but we'll assume there's another intelligent person that exists than Elon Musk. Jeff Bezos, Apple. We have some typical creative tools, Scamper, Debona 6 Thinking Hats. And basically what you can do is prompt AI and say, look, I want you to solve this and I want you to use this methodology. Just like you're doing with people. Creative combinations, by the way, this is my go-to method whenever I run an event. It is not the winner in the tests, but it is, I think, the best way. Basically, you take unrelated stimuli and related stimuli, you combine them together to try to come up with something new. The Indian ventriloquist, it has to be yellow and it has to be this. That's a creative combination. We have a series of less known methods. We had 60 different less known methods. We tested a total of 81 methods, and we tested TRIZ. And by the way, that's the winner. How does it work? Well, there's lots of ways you can do it. We've got a toolkit up online. You go to the toolkit, you select your idea building method, you add your innovation target. So if you don't know what you want to generate ideas for, you're not going to get good ideas. You press a little button on the bottom, and bingo. You get lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of ideas. We ended up with 5,402 ideas. And those ideas were tested to be unique and distinctive from one another. And I'll explain to you how we did it. We had 270 from the students, 270 from the students working with AI, 450 here, 4,372. Let me give you the results. So you can measure the quality of an idea. Remember before, meaningfulness, value, novelty. 2 things you bring together. You want something that has value and something which is unique. You combine those 2, you can create a score. Here we have a score for human beings alone, and here we have the AI, and basically everything is okay. A little less than 5, not fantastic in terms of the ideas. From an academic point of view, this is interesting because these are statistically different. So I can write a paper about this. But as a business person, it doesn't make a bit of difference because they're essentially the same. What we can look at also is we can look at how different the ideas are. There's a way to measure an idea or a statement or a phrase, how unique it is or how different it is by something called cosine similarity. I can't explain it because actually I don't even understand the method myself. I have somebody else do it. But I can tell you the principles behind it. You're looking at how similar 2 statements are or 2 ideas are. We can look here and we could say, this is a very happy person and this is a happy person. Those are pretty close. Cosine similarity pretty high, probably around 0.8. Okay. This is a happy dog. Well, somebody's happy. It's not a person, but it's probably closer to this is a very happy person than today is a sunny day. So we get all those ideas together, we mix and match them, and we say, how different are the ideas that are generated? So what you want to do is you want ideas which are different. So back to university correlation. High score means they're similar, low score means they're not. You want a low score. So what we see here, yes, human beings win. Human beings are the most diverse in terms of the quality of their ideas, the types of ideas they're generating. And all the AI methods are essentially the same. So you might ask, why would I continue doing research? And why would I present this if basically it's the same and human beings are better at diversity? Do you think there's anything hidden here? There is. Does anybody want 5,000 ideas? That's where the hidden bit is. So do you really want 5,000 ideas? No. What you want is good ideas. So what we did is we said, okay, look, we're going to draw on a line, and we're going to measure the quality of ideas, and we're going to take everything that fits in the 95th percentile. And what you'll see is the stuff above that green line represents the number in the different areas. You see, human beings have almost nothing there. Let me tell you what the results are. Human beings generate a top 5% idea in this test 1 out of 100 times. Human beings working with AI, ChatGPT, get better 1.4 times out of 100. With a clear target, they get better still, they get almost double. That's really important because, in fact, it means that within your groups, when you're working on innovation, just getting the target right will increase the quality of your ideas by 100%. But now the big numbers come in. 5%, 5 out of 100, 5.5, 6.5, 6.5, 8. So what we're looking at here is the percentage of big ideas. And I want to make something really, really clear. Smart AI plus clear objectives gives you a lot more ideas, but it's also much better ideas. What we're looking at is the frequency of top ideas ranges from human beings by themselves at 100, AI down here at the end, 7 times higher. So what are the lessons here? Clear target, use smart AI, and if you wanted to go even better, you would use something called chain of thought, which is you take the best ideas and improve them over time. So what do we think about going forward? It's not a future of human beings or AI alone. They're going to work together. If you look at the study that we ran here, humans plus AI, but without clear ideas, you'll get better. But you also have to realize you're going to make mistakes. If you talk about smart AI, which is predefined tools, oops, it went away. Knowledge on how to use the tools, explaining how to interact with AI, being a little bit conscientious about how you're doing things, you'll not only get better ideas, but you get fewer failures. It allows you to do things like, for example, run a sprint in 2 days, generating twice as many ideas. Okay, you went to a course on innovation. You learned something really important. And I think you learned that ideas are important, but they're not the only thing. What you need to do is you need to make ideas happen. It's about building, testing, executing, and in fact, the research shows, in fact, it's your ability to grow ideas, which is more important. I like a technique which is called sprints. How many of you ever heard of a sprint? How many of you read this book? You should read the book. It's really good. I wish I had written the book, by the way. Damn. So there's a book out here by Jake Knapp. He codified something people were doing already. A sprint already existed before Jake Knapp wrote about it. Jake Knapp just wrote about it and called it a sprint. What is a sprint? It's time-based, specific steps, specific deliverables. There's probably as many flavors and shapes of sprints as there are flavors of ice cream in the world. The basic sprint goes through a process. Day 1, you figure out what you want to do. Day 2, you build some ideas. By the way, nobody does this anymore, sketching the ideas, the crazy eights and stuff like that. It's a cool idea, but people don't do it. Day 3, you decide the best ideas. Day 4, you prototype. And day 5, you test it with customers. Why are sprints good? First of all, they focus you on getting stuff done. They get people together who aren't normally together. They focus on testing and validating, learning and growing your ideas step by step. So typically in a sprint, you might do 3 or 4 iterations of an idea. And it's a way of actually removing risk in the process. There's another reason why a sprint is good, is they're really easy to run. All you need to know is you say, look, we're going to do a sprint for the next 87 minutes. You can do an 87-minute sprint. You need to say what are the deliverables, and you need to have a process. And almost anybody can lead a sprint. If I told you how to do it, you could run a sprint tomorrow. If you read the book, you can run a sprint tomorrow. And even if you do them poorly, they tend to give you pretty good results. So easy, simple, even if you screw it up, it works. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a document which gives you 151 articles, books, links, how-tos, videos on how to run a sprint. If you watch a few of those, you'll get it. Okay, they're really cool, but they could be better. So we have 8 issues that come up with a sprint. The first one, we were talking about problem solving, problem definition. If you run a sprint to solve the wrong problem, you get the wrong solution. There's an issue about teams getting together. If you're running your 87-minute sprint, how do you know everybody's believing the same thing and wanting to do the same thing? Kind of tough. Time constraints, because in fact you tend to do sprints over a period of time, and because there's a limited amount of time, the number of ideas you generate is rather limited. You're supposed to test externally. It's like, we're all supposed to go to the gym 5 times a week, but we don't. Same thing here. You're supposed to test internally, but typically you don't. So basically, people make decisions on their ideas without actually testing it. For me, I'm most creative when I'm on a walk in the woods, when I'm in the shower, when I'm driving the car, when I'm listening to music, when I'm dancing. So if you're all on, you don't get time away to soak and think about ideas. Usually ideas are pretty low fidelity, weak action plans, and too much time is needed. So I said, this is kind of funny. This guy's telling me this is a good idea, and he's telling me all the reasons why it's a bad idea. Ha! Tell you about something we've done. We've created a way to improve the sprint process by taking AI and throwing it in the whole bit. So we've got a toolkit which has 259 tools in it, which leads you step by step through the process. We start with tools to help you define your challenge. You tell AI what you're working on. It gives you feedback. It helps you structure the feedback. We have the mechanical ideation, we have mechanical creativity, we have idea review. By the way, most good ideas are not the first idea, but ideas which are merged together. AI does a really good job. We have deciding on the ideas. We have synthetic user testing, that kind of stuff. Prototyping, and business model, pitching, all that kind of stuff. So we throw all that stuff in. What do? We take a 5-day sprint and we run it in 2 days. And this is the really cool bit. We add a little bit of time off. Let it soak. And then we bring people together for a new half day, which wasn't part of the original sprint. And it's about testing, deciding, and making it real. We're running these in parallel with a couple of companies. I'm looking for one. If you guys want to run one that can publish the results, I'll give you a hell of a deal. All my companies that do this, they won't let me publish the results because it's not that flattering. But typically, when we run the normal sprint and the AI augmented sprint, we end up with somewhere between 3 and 5 times as many ideas in half the time. So you don't want to say AI beats your best people and teams. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of how this works. You ready? This is for an event I ran in Brazil. My wife's Brazilian. I tried to do this in Portuguese. That was a disaster, so it's still in English. So what we were looking at was a challenge. We wanted to develop a new drink for the Brazilian market, which was a pre-mixed alcohol drink. And we wanted to do this in 2 days. What's happened is these drinks failed every single time they were launched, but we had a really good client who was willing to pay us a lot of money, so we'll see if we can do it. So I'm going to take you through the process and show you how AI was used in the process. By the way, these are not the final results. It gives you an idea of what's there. Step number 1 is you prep things out. A good rule of thumb is before a sprint, you should spend a couple days. It used to be that I would spend 5 days for each day I worked with a client. Now I spend about 1 day. It's the most important part because if you get that part wrong, everything else goes wrong. We have something really cool, which I'll give you the link to. It does a market assessment that can be uploaded to a GPT. It's not perfect, but as they say in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. What we did in this case is we went to Perplexity. We asked a whole bunch of questions about the Brazilian drink market. We downloaded a whole bunch of information. We also downloaded all the information about things that failed. And why did they fail? Okay? Now, the problem that comes up is if I know that, how did the other people in the sprint know it? We put together a clear objective, and basically what we did is we threw this all together in something we call a GPT. Does anybody know what a GPT is? Okay, it's your own little version of an AI model. And what you can do is you can say what this model does. So the model is their objective. And we can add a whole bunch of market information, and we just make this available to everybody that's participating in the sprint. So we've done our research. So instead of having a pile of stuff packed here, it's all sitting there inside the little AI brain. Okay, that's before the sprint. Now we've got 2 days to do this stuff. So prep, align, build, communicate, check, systematically approve, soak, and present. So the first thing we do when we run a sprint is we do a demonstration. Everybody talks about the challenge and say, what did we learn about the challenge? And then we put it together and we agree on a specific objective. We'll come back to this, but this is basically the same thing that went in the testing before. We've got an AI tool to do that. I'll show you another one later, which is even better. We chose a whole bunch of ideation methods. There's 65 that we have that we run. That will generate around 2,000 ideas. You say, oh my God, got 2,000 ideas, what do we do? We run a prompt that looks something like this. Please review the ideas just generated. Please pick the 3 most likely to deliver on our objectives and constraints. Note you can merge the ideas. Please write up the ideas so they're clear and easy to understand, about 100 words, and provide the rationale for each one. So we have all the ideas, we have a description, we have a rationale, and we have a score. And we as a human being chose the Carnival Celebration Series. It's a series of limited edition alcoholic drinks inspired by the vibrant flavors of Brazil's Carnival, offered for a short period of time to bring Carnival to your house every day of the year. So we have to communicate these. What we do is this is the beginning of day number 2. Pull all the ideas together. Forget about the AI for a minute. Everybody has to present the ideas. So the human beings have to present them. We then look at ways that we can extend those ideas. So we have 30 prompts to extend the ideas. We have something really cool, which is about making names. We can generate a few thousand names in a few minutes. And the most coolest tool in the bunch is we have something to create selling lines. And what it does is it takes the 2,000 best selling lines of all time and rewrites them for our product. It absolutely needs to be there overnight. Might be it absolutely needs to be Carnival. So it takes the existing selling lines and remakes them. It then makes a paper prototype, and then we're off to do some testing. We create, and this is for you really important, for those of you who are risk adverse, this is the best use of AI that you can make. You have a presentation, you have a product proposal, ask AI to review this from different perspectives. So what we do is we say, please create a bunch of synthetic users, blah, 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 blah. Basically tell me what you like and what didn't you like. Provide me feedback and suggestions based on all these different things. So we create a whole series of synthetic users. We get feedback from all those fake people. By the way, the results are pretty good. We get their feedback, key summary of the feedback. We get ideas to improve our selling proposition. And now we're at a point, we've got something pretty cool. We're still only a day and a half into the process. I used to work for Procter & Gamble. Niets got langer mee than dreft. I don't know if you remember that. That was me. It took us 6 months to come up with that. We're looking at something that you're actually developing, a whole product, a whole concept, a whole idea in a day and a half. This is cool stuff. This is something also in terms of government I'd strongly recommend, is we have an idea, but want to be aware of the project risks. Please tell me the key top risks that we have. Pick 3 that we might be able to make progress on in a 2-hour workshop. Plan a workshop for us. We're going to split in groups and we're going to work on those things. Key risks, key problems, gives me an agenda. Who do we have to put together? What do we have to talk about? How do we get it going? Boom. Almost there. My grandma used to have this up in her kitchen, and I never understood it. The hurrier I go, the behinder I get. Sometimes when you go fast, you make mistakes. Sometimes you go too fast. You have to set up time to get away from your ideas to see if they're any good. I don't know how many of you have done this, but you look at something, you think, this is the most amazing thing. You come back 2 months later, you say, who's the idiot who wrote this? What we do here is we use AI to set up a few things. We set up human testing. We find ways to develop an interview guide to talk about it. There's something which is a really good book out there called the Mom Test. If you want to learn about consumer testing, very fantastic. And basically, it creates an interview guide based on that. We have a pitch maker. Really cool. You'll see it in action later. We have a pitch review. And we get ready to present. So we ended up with Carnival Exlers, and this is supposed to do lots of fancy things, but it's not working. What we do in the last day, which is unique and different, is we make it a speed dating session. So in fact, we present before management gets in the room. We get feedback from our peers. You get 1 hour to update the presentation. Then you present it again to the management team. We then have talked about this. We try to give a bunch of information to the management. Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? In the end, 2 to 3 times more ideas, half the time. Why does it work? You spend more time thinking about strategy. You get a hell of a lot more ideas. You do more in terms of testing and validation. You get better fidelity products, and you get a go to action. That's our break. And now I'm going to show you something amazing for government in a few minutes. So you get 5 minutes, get a coffee, get a drink. Does anybody have any questions up until now? Have you learned anything? Nobody has a question.
Give us the address. Give us the URL where we can find it.
Okay, 5 minutes, get a drink, come back. Okay. So I had 2 really good comments, questions that came after. So let me tell you the first question. The first question was about ideas. Should we be scared that AI is generating ideas? Can we still patent them? Can we still do something with them? Zero fear. Ideas are worthless. It's your ability to execute an idea, your ability to bring an idea to market that makes an idea have value. It's not because somebody had the same idea as you before that it's not valuable. In fact, most good ideas are copies of other people's ideas. It could be that you have a hard time patenting it, but I think that's a very good perspective. The second one, and that's a harder one, Bryan, what does this have to do with my work? Oh, shoot. Okay, I guess I sort of missed that one. All right. So if I haven't talked about how it's relevant to your work, I'm going to try to bring it closer to you. But I think what I like about this group and what I like about the Dutch in general is the fact that you'll actually tell me what you think. Okay, so what we've got here, where are we in terms of numbers? The impact of AI and innovation. For me, the biggest impact is before and after the idea. What people get excited about is AI can generate lots of ideas. It is formulating the right objectives, formulating the right problems, defining the problems in a way which are useful, then building ideas. Then the second part where AI adds real value is evaluating ideas. Taking risks out, letting you see the things that are going on. In terms of numbers, what we're looking at is AI can help you create better strategic plans, not because AI is more strategic than you, but it's better able to communicate simply and clearly. I don't know how many of you have gone back, taken a report or a presentation that you made a year ago, reread it. You'll be a little bit surprised. The advantage of AI is it comes with a fresh view every time. You're not as clear as you think you are. AI can make you more clear. 5 to 7 times more top ideas. Something we haven't talked about is something that I do for my daily living is I help companies create ideas, but also present those ideas and get them funded. AI can take pitch fail rates from 40% down to 5%. And our sprints, they go a lot faster. Before we go into that, we had this talk this morning about what's the future of AI. And the future of AI looks a lot like the future of a calculator in 1980. I remember going to my math class, playing with it underneath the desk. Oh, wow, this is fantastic. Now they're part of the class. AI is going to be a part of your work. It's not going to change. It is going to be there, whether you like it or not. When I looked at the groups working this morning, half the groups were already using AI to solve a simple challenge. It will be there. The question you need to do is ask, what are you going to do with it? People are going to use it. How do you create the right criteria? Now, this is more for the people at home than the people who are here, but I'm not going to go into this for a long time. Basically, in government, if it's not approved, it's not allowed. You need to have clear guidelines. When you have guidelines, you can figure out where you're going to go. You can figure out how you evaluate progress. You can figure out how you're going to do things. And good principles are built on facts and values. Now, here comes the most important thing. Who makes decisions? Usually, people are the farthest away from what needs to happen. If we look at, for example, decisions about using AI in the workplace, maybe the person who's making that decision has never used AI. 90% of you have used AI in some way or form. How about your boss? How about your boss's boss? If you are going to make effective decisions, you need to have facts, but you also need to have personal experience. One of the things we were talking about during the break is how AI can sort of get you in the wrong direction. You need to make decisions as a human being, you need to feel emotion. Emotion is the ability, gives you the power to decide this is good or bad. If AI is just this amorphous thing over there, how are you going to make decisions? So what I focus on very strongly is trying to get companies to use AI before they make decisions about how they do it. In the education sector, approximately 50% of schools are forbidding the use of AI in the university. 50% that remain. Yeah, I see you raising your eyes. You have to go to the States. 50% of those who remain sort of reluctantly, and 25% left over are going all in. And actually what's happening is they're having a hard time figuring out where things fit together. And one of the things you need to do is, instead of reacting, you have to lead the process. What I've been doing with education organizations is running a 2.5-day AI augmented strategy sprint. Who do we put in this? We put school leaders. Most of them are not using AI. And I say, ha, I've got you for 2.5 days. I'm going to stretch you. I'm going to break you. I'm going to get you to do things that you never thought were possible. And we're going to go through this process of the key strategic questions about the use of AI, and we're going to have you use AI step by step. So at least when they're making the decisions, they will have seen what AI can do. And the deliverable, I wish I could say it right every time. It's a clear, or at least a clearer, policy on AI at their school. What we're going to present here is something you could do in your organization. I've told you before, sprints are easy. You read a little bit, you put together a framework. There's lots of frameworks to do it. You're going to get a whole bunch of resources. Even if you fail, it'll work. So don't be worried about it. But if you want to make it easier, we can make it easier. So I want to give you a quick experience. And this is why I missed your thing this morning, is I was trying to take the challenge that we were talking about and trying to focus on that. So coming back to what you're looking at as a government organization. And I'm going to show you how you might use AI in that specific context. What you're going to get as you look at the slides after this, you'll get the prompts. You'll get the output. You can do copy paste. You just change the objective at the beginning. So what we've got is the process is define a challenge, alignment, build ideas, create ideas, review those ideas, look for risks in those ideas, build a talk, and make a presentation. And I can show you how to do this. In fact, I did this morning on my own. It took me longer to do the screenshots than it did to do the work. So we've got a cool thing that exists. really rolls off the tip of your tongue. The ChatGPT GG15AKSSLO True North. That is a GPT, which is a little program which will ask you questions to define objectives for a strategic innovation initiative. What you need to do is you need to ask a few questions. It'll ask you a few questions. It'll say, nah, do you really believe this? No, I don't see it that way. It'll ask you. You provide a few updates, and 15 minutes later, you will get something that looks like this. And this is what we were talking about before, which is the challenge that starts. I've got a story. I've got an objective. I have restrictions, tactical constraints, and a place to start. So AI is reshaping the world, and its potential for public service is transformative. I didn't write this, by the way. This is ChatGPT. If we don't take the lead now in defining how AI integrates into our government work, we risk being left behind, overwhelmed by rapid advancement instead of harnessing them. Doom and gloom. What we're looking for is ideas for creating first principles that guide AI integration in government, tasked within a month, along with specific actions we can take to make this happen. So exactly what we were talking about this morning. By the way, the results are not perfect, but it'll give you an idea. We're not interested in reinventing the wheel or long discussions. I don't know if that's possible. The solutions to be straightforward and actionable, with implementation achievable within a 1-month time frame. The project has to involve management, innovation experts to ensure alignment and feasibility. And we strongly suggest beginning with the existing innovation values. And we would look at the idea of running a sprint to do this. Okay, so this is not bad. So how did we do this? So I went to this thing. Hi, I want to create a true north for an innovation project. I filled in a couple lines. It asks me a question, what's your story? I type a little bit. Ask me what my objective is. I type a little bit. What are my tactical constraints? Type a little bit. And it gives me a summary of what I've just written. And then what it told me just before this, which you don't see it, is, Bryan, did you look at it this way? You should look at it that way. But it gives me a final result. 15 minutes. Fastest, easiest way that you are ever going to start a project. Is that closer to your work? I'm looking, Matthias. He's the one who told me, what does this have to do with my work? But I think it's a really fair comment. I think one of the things that happens is the most common failure for a project is not the quality of the people, it's not the quality of the effort, but it's a lack of poor definition of the project. If you don't know what you want to do, you're certainly not going to do it right. By the way, everything that comes out of here will be available as a link, so you get all the ChatGPT output. Okay, we want to build some ideas. So we tell ChatGPT about your challenge. So basically the prompt says, hey, this is my challenge. Would you be willing to give me some ideas? I want you to think like an innovation expert. I want you to give me 80 ideas based on the TRIZ and principles for the challenge I've just described. Give me those ideas, pop them out on the other side. Do you think this would work? Boom! Yay! Anybody lost up until now? Okay. Here's where the AI model comes to be most valuable. I've just gone through all of these ideas. What I'd like you to do is review the ideas just generated. Please pick the 3 likely to deliver on our objectives and constraints defined in our objectives, and tell me why. Be honest with you, the ideas were not great. Okay, but I was doing this on the fly, and so I ended up with a limited selection and a limited amount of time. So I actually generated around 40 ideas, and these were the top 3 of the 40 ideas. And the idea that came out is, which I like best, was consensus building AI platforms. Develop a platform that facilitates consensus building among policymakers by gathering inputs, preferences from multiple stakeholders, so we can do this pretty quickly. All right, I chose one. This is you. This is not AI. AI can't make the decision. All right. You're all risk adverse. I think you are to a certain extent. That's good. In fact, if I was going to give you my recipe to succeed as an entrepreneur or a startup, I've succeeded quite a few times. It's not that I'm better at coming up with good ideas. It's that I'm better at avoiding bad ideas. When you take away every risk of failure, and there's no reason left to fail, the only thing you can do is succeed. What you can do here is this. This one, if you're going to take a screenshot of one page, this is the one you should take. Okay. We're working on a short presentation to our management team on the need for support on how to deliver our challenge, which we've defined above. I want you to create a series of fake management team that I can present to. And I want you to provide, each of them to provide feedback on the idea which we're presenting. After this, please summarize the key feedback and give you 3 suggestions on how to improve the idea. Based on the original idea and this feedback, please improve our idea and put it into a format which I can use to make a presentation. Seriously, if you're going to take a picture of this one. Okay, so what do we have? We have Linda the skeptic, Tom the innovator, Sarah the guardian, and Raj the realist. We got the feedback from all those different people. And we got a series of improvements and suggestions. And these are pretty valid. What's the cost, the benefit? We didn't talk about that. Ooh. All right, that's not a very good recommendation. How are we going to do it in terms of the system integration plan? How about compliance and security? All of these things are quite valid. Any project you're working on, anything that you're doing, you can use AI to give you an effective risk analysis of what you're doing. You don't have any budget. How do I do this without budget? Okay. So our output, they came up with the Policy Pathfinder, an AI-powered consensus for smarter governments. The problem is public policy makers struggle with slow decision-making due to diverse opinions and complex data. We're going to facilitate and inform policy through AI-driven consensus building, blah, 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 blah. I didn't write this. Okay. We want to build a talk. 2 ways to do this. Do it on your own, which is actually what I did. Or we have a really cool tool, which will take you about 15 minutes, which is the one on the right-hand side. You click Get Started. It will ask you a series of questions. The first question it will ask you is, why is this presentation important to you? The second question it will ask you is, what does your audience believe now? And what do they need to believe after your presentation? It will ask you a third question. Summarize your whole presentation in 1 sentence and give me 3 reasons why this is a good idea. And then it will ask you to provide this stuff, which is the problem, promise, proof, payoff, blah, blah, blah. And then it will ask you, how are you going to end this talk? You press a button, bingo, you get a presentation. And the presentation's pretty good. I didn't do this. I said, please write me a 3 to 5 minute talk about this idea. And I gave it a few more bits. So give me an introduction, give me an end, give me a call to action, so on and so forth. And basically, it wrote a presentation for me. Good morning, everybody. I'm here to share an exciting innovation proposal that has the potential to significantly enhance our policy-making process, ensuring they are not only faster, blah, blah, blah. And I want you to agree to this tool. Okay. I'm now 45 minutes in. You know, this is a lunch break. You can take any project you want, you can put it in this. Okay, what do you need to do now? Look at that. Be a human being. Go to our pitch review app. You run the pitch review. You plug it in here. Boom. And I was supposed to have a picture of this, but it's not going to show it. Basically, what it will do is it'll evaluate your presentation. And it's, how was the introduction? How was gut feeling of was the objective clear? Was the solution meaningful? Was the solution unique? Is there real value, real reason to believe? It'll actually go through all of this, and all this way, write up ideas on how to do it. At the end, it will give you 5 different versions of your presentation. It'll evaluate those 5 versions and tell you which one's the best.
So why putting in 5 versions first?
Why not put, so basically you write the best you can,
Yeah.
and I will give you different ways of saying it. So I have a problem solution pitch. I have an elevator pitch. I have a Pekakucha pitch. Does anybody know what a Pekakucha pitch is? Okay, it gives you a Pekakucha pitch. It will give you a, what is the other, NABC pitch. And it basically restructures it, and then it rereads it and say which of these is most powerful. Okay? And the reason why you would have the AI do it is because you don't want to do it. So this is my only commercial slide, sorry. So this is free. That's free. If you want to get the better stuff, you got to pay. It's not that expensive. And in fact, if anybody really wants to try it out and you're hard up for $24.99, send me an email and I'll send you a free code. Okay.
So did AI train you to put this pitch in?
Did it train me? No, I'm still. Okay.
10 more minutes.
All right. 47 seconds and I'm done.
Okay, and then there's the opening for questions, right?
Yep. Okay, so you take your outline, which pops out of that. You go to something called gamma.ai. You upload your presentation. 47 seconds later, you will have a pitch. So you go, this came out of the AI. You go plug it in. So the AI told you what are the different things. I like a certain layout of my presentations. I say I want to generate my talk. It'll go through step by step. And make your presentation. At the end of this, you push a button, it exports to PowerPoint, and that's it. Okay, by the way, some of you may have seen this wasn't this presentation. I took another presentation video that I had because I didn't have time to make the video. Okay, everything here is free. We're in beta testing. You go here, you can do all this stuff. You can do the alignment stuff, you can do the build the idea stuff. You'll get the link. Moving forward, I would strongly suggest you're at a crossroad. You have to decide what the future looks like. Start with principles. Learn to improve those principles. And an idea, give yourself something time-based. Give yourself a deadline. The best way that I know to do this is a sprint because it's quick, it's easy, it gets done. and we're out. And I was going to bring stuff back from this morning, but I think we're going to open it up to questions instead. Is that okay?
I think we are, Bryan. Bryan, thank you very much. I think we have had a very captive audience, if I may say so. A lot of people were really interested in what you had to bring. I have one particular challenge for you, and that is that, yes, you've been showing us a couple of very nice tools, I must say. I was really impressed with, the things that you can do with it. But one of the things is that most of the people here in the room are either they have completed their education, or they're about to start a new cycle of a group. And what we're working on basically is the meta level of innovation. So we're not just working on the innovation itself, on the project level, so to speak, but on innovation management, which means introducing methodologies, project tools, and stuff for the rest of their organizations. Would you have any specific idea on how we might actively employ, not just on the project level, but on the organizational level? What kind of role could AI play there?
First, let me tell you, I think you're focusing in the right place. So the starting point is not AI. The starting point is the education that you've done to understand methodologies and to understand what you need to do. When you know what you need to do, you're able to do the next steps. The second part is domain expertise, which you should have from your job. But I think what I would do is I would sandbox a few things within your trainings, let people try it out, see if it works, try to focus on specific challenges, and have them bring it back and say, look, you know what, I'm doing this training on innovation. Let me work on that, and then present back to the organization.
So your advice would actually be to actively employ AI while training, sort of on the job?
Yeah.
Good.
There's a lot of research out there about the ability for AI to improve the learning experience. For bad students, AI ruins the learning experience because you can be lazy and you don't have to do this stuff. If you're a good student, and I assume that people here are motivated to learn what you're learning because you volunteered to do it, AI is a fantastic way to learn better because it becomes a way to have dialogue and dig deeper.
Sort of a virtual project member, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Any?
Just a question
Okay.
from the live audience. So what happens with the data? So the question from one of the the online participant. So she asked, what happens with the data we put in your fantastic scheme of AI tooling?
In the one that I have, it goes in a little database and it sits there. We don't do anything with it. In the one with ChatGPT, Gemini, and things like that, there are real concerns. Okay? You don't want to put, but you can use, for example, Microsoft has a version which is actually with a boundary around the data that you're putting in, which has the same functionality as ChatGPT. You just have to spend a little bit more money. So the answer to the question is, it goes everywhere, and there's an expression, how do you get rid of it? You drown the fish. There's so much data that it can't possibly be found. But that's probably not the answer that you want to hear.
Oh, that's an interesting one, drown the fish. Okay, thank you. All right, I have this comment which basically goes to your point, I think. Leo and I are actually trying to find out whether it's possible to create a knowledge base, which would be closed and just open for government use, where we'd actually store all the documents related to innovation management that either come from the training group or are a result of the content as it's gathered in the maturity model. So that might be one good place, perhaps, where we could actually work on a knowledge base where we have a protection around source material and output.
Yep. So if you create a private version of, oops, there it is, something like that. Okay, so this is a GPT. You can upload what your tool is supposed to do. You can upload up to 10 knowledge-based articles, which can be a few thousand pages. You can give it instructions on how it's supposed to work. So for example, the True North thing, I gave instructions. When people say this, do that. And you can make it private.
That sounds like a very interesting and promising idea.
And
Thank you.
you can make it in about 2 hours.
Perfect. Thank you. Any more questions from the room? I think everybody's... Oh, look. I thought everybody was getting ready for drinks. But go ahead. Go ahead.
The negative environmental impacts of AI. How do you think about that?
I've got a daughter who makes me worry about that. I don't worry about it. It's horrible, actually. The negative environmental impact of AI is absolutely atrocious. But that's not my problem. And I think, we have all the things that we do, and that is not the thing that's within the zone of what I work on. But it has to be fixed, and it has to be better, and it has to be different. And actually, one of the problems is if I convince you to use AI, I'm also convincing you to do horrible things for the environment, and that I do feel guilty for. So I'm sorry, Go ahead.
Hi, Bryan. I have a microphone now. Thank you for your presentation. It's very inspiring. I was thinking of listening to you whether AI will be capable at this moment or maybe in the future to invent new vocabularies. I mean, at some point in time, we need to describe the world that we made in different wordings than we use now. So would AI help there with new vocabularies? What's your thoughts about that?
It's already doing it, by the way.
Sorry?
It's already doing it. So in fact, the AI models that communicate with one another, communicate with one another in a language which is not a language we know. So it actually is already creating new linguistic things. But I think you're looking more in terms of will it create new vocabulary and new words? I don't know.
Now we have already Google and YouTube, which are already very commercialized.
Yeah.
And we see the results are built onto link building, or the results are built onto advertisements. How do you think the business models in the AI market develop based on commercialization and the results affecting by that?
If I had the answer, I probably wouldn't be teaching right now. I don't know. I think where I do make investments, I make investments in a series of electronic technologies where I think the value is going to be is linking value generated. Okay, so in fact, the AI models will give you information, but that information will be linked to a contract that when you use it, you pay something. And I think that's the opportunity for the future. That's a bit bigger than the investments that I can make right now, but I think there is something there. And I think the other thing that you will have is a lot of things in terms of security. I think there's whole business models around security and confidentiality, because one of the problems that comes up is I can ask AI to generate something. So all these visuals you saw, for example, they're ripoffs. My request was generate for me a Pixar-style video image to explain this. That shouldn't be feasible. But if you have a good idea for a business model, come tell me.
Well, Pixar should be paid for that, right?
Yeah.
As our artist. Okay, well, give it up for Bryan. Thank you very much, Bryan.
Okay.